My name is Brandon. The victim is Bianca Michelle Devins.
Now to a case sparking outrage online. An upstate New York man has been charged with murdering his teenage girlfriend and then posting pictures of her body on Instagram.
I saw 2 police cars way down this post street. The next thing I know, I got a phone call from my daughter saying something happened right down the street, you know.
When neighbors were out on their morning walk, they found this on the road. It's a message of what they say is from the individual, reading, "May you never forget me."
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. This case that we're going to explore today was absolutely not next on my list. In fact, it wasn't even on the list until a few days ago. I had just found out about this case and I thought that we needed to look into this together. And I'm sure that a lot of you will already know this case, but for some reason, I never knew about it until now. For many reasons, it was very big in the news and very, very well known online. Unfortunately, the reason as to why I know about this case is because I'm a part of a few true crime groups on social media, and one of them had shown some crime scene photos, and unfortunately, it was this crime that we're going to be discussing today. The photos were just awful, and so many people had said something along the lines of, "Oh, these photos again." And so having seen those photos and having not really understood what the comments meant, I felt like I had to research this case. So today we are going to be looking at the murder of Bianca Devins. Viewer discretion is advised on this one because this one is a really dark case. Bianca Michelle Devins was born on October the 2nd, 2001 in Utica in New York. Bianca's mother was Kim Devins, and she actually had Bianca really young. She had Bianca at 18 years old. And Kim was a fantastic mother to Bianca. And even though she had her young, they just had this incredibly close bond. They were basically like friends as well as mother and daughter. Bianca also had 2 sisters and she was also extremely close with them. Unfortunately, Bianca suffered with depression and she really struggled in public settings. Online, however, was a totally different story. She was a typical girl of the modern world, and what I mean by that is that she was very much into her technology and being very visible on the internet. Her online presence could also be considered that of an e-girl. An e-girl is effectively a girl who is quite often posting online and has a unique style or way of being. They're usually content creators that have a very, very cool look or a very quirky way of being. They basically just oppose the norm, like they normally have really bright hair, or they have bold piercings, tattoos, they dress in a really cute way, but also their content is usually very fun and engaging, and they're very, very interactive with their audiences. She had a relatively big following and people loved to watch her content. Besides being absolutely beautiful, she was very cutesy and quirky, and that was very engaging with her audience. Bianca absolutely loved art and she had a particular love for anime. When she was suffering with her depression, she realized that she could go online and speak to people that had similar interests to what she was interested in. The online world became a safe haven for her, and it was a place in which she knew that she could go and be herself, and therefore she spent a lot of time there. When Bianca got to the 9th grade, she actually then had to change schools, and she then became enrolled in the Thomas Proctor High School in Utica. Now, no one likes being the new kid, right? In school, in a job, no one likes being that person because usually all the social groups have already been made. And this school was pretty frightening to Bianca because it was a lot bigger than the school that she'd previously been at. And 9th grade is really hard because it is really at a point when everyone kind of has their own cliques and they're in the social classes that they're probably going to be in forever. And I hope you know what I mean by that, but you have like, to reel off a few sort of categories, you have like the jocks, the popular girls, you have the art weirdos, which is probably where I would have categorized. But unfortunately, Bianca didn't have an exact place that she felt like she belonged, and no one truly made her feel welcome either.
This land was made.
Baby, bye, baby.
I think the baby crying is what really makes it. What makes us.
Second, I swear.
There's always got to be a baby crying.
Maybe you shouldn't have to hear your horrible voice.
And so Bianca then found it incredibly hard to make friends and incredibly hard to just enjoy school. This was really negatively affecting her mental health, and some days it was just a chore to get her to go to school at all. Her depression really started to get bad as well, and there was quite a few days at this point that she just couldn't go to school. Like, she would literally say, I just can't do it. And it was around this time as well that she would then start suffering panic attacks. In 2017, Kim, her mother, decided that enough is enough. We're just going to homeschool her because getting any education is better than none at all. And I absolutely agree with Kim. Like, to get Bianca any sort of education was way better than to not have her daughter going to school at all. They would still follow the curriculum and she would still do all the exams she needed to do. And I think it was an incredibly healthy way to help Bianca with her mental health. The only issue with this, though, is that because now she was basically 24/7 at home, this allowed her to venture even more into her online presence. It was her only way of communicating with other kids her age, as by this point Bianca is about 16 years old, and so her entire way of being has now become the internet, her day-to-day, her social life, and her escapism. But in 2018, there was yet another change for Bianca. In 2018, Bianca was diagnosed with BPD, which is better known as borderline personality disorder. In consequence of Bianca getting this diagnosis, Kim decided that it would be the best idea for Bianca to go to a facility where they specialized in helping with this diagnosis or diagnoses that are similar. And this is what I mean about Kim just being a fantastic mum, because everything that Bianca was going through, Kim would look and see what is the best sort of avenue to make Bianca's life better. And this was no exception, because Bianca absolutely thrived in this facility. She bonded really, really well with her counsellor, and she started speaking to people that really understood her, that were also being treated in the facility. So this was a turning point for Bianca, because she wasn't just finding friends online, she was now finding friends in the real world. Of course, she had her sisters and she had people online, but the fact that she could go into a strange place and make friends was huge for Bianca. But even bigger than this, Bianca started to understand herself. She started to understand her mind and realize why she was suffering with depression and these issues that she was facing. She started to enjoy life and she started to love herself more. This experience was so impactful to Bianca that after a year of living in the facility, she returned home, graduated from high school, and decided that she wanted to become a psychologist so that in the future she could help other people that were suffering with what she has already been through. Like, how lovely is that? She found her weakness, she got through it, she used all her strength to become a better person for her sake, and then on the back of that, she now wanted to help other people to not go through what she did. That's just the definition of a really kind, caring soul, isn't it? So upon returning home from the facility, Bianca is now feeling, more courageous and more able to do more things. So she goes online, and when she's online, she actually has quite a few different personalities. It was almost dependent on what social platform she was on, but she kind of had different personalities for each different platform. And of course, we know that she was diagnosed with BPD, so this makes total sense. But she was quite a fan of a social platform called Discord, and she was insanely popular on there as well. And it was on this platform that she had quite a lot of friends. And with multiple platforms, she met multiple people, and she especially got along with a man that she would go on to meet in spring of 2019. This man's name was Brandon Clark. Brandon Andrew Clark was born on the 6th of October 1997 in Syracuse in New York State. Syracuse was only about an hour away from Utica, and so Brandon Clark and Bianca would start meeting up quite a fair bit. Their meetups went really well, and on the back of this, they then started dating. And this is what I mean about Bianca helping people, because I truly believe that the relationship actually started because she wanted to help Brandon. Brandon's home life wasn't the greatest, and of course Bianca wanted to go into psychiatry and she wanted to help people. So she obviously looked at Brandon, and although they had similar interests, she probably wanted to just make his life better. So in any way that she could, by being his friend, by being his girlfriend, that's what she tried to do. It just made sense that Bianca would bond with someone that had been to dark places mentally, just like she had done. Bianca had a great childhood, but she suffered with depression and therefore could align with other people who had it too. They both did click on other things as well though. They both really enjoyed anime and they loved gaming. They were also very alternative looking. Brandon had that side sweeping sort of black hair. I think he had facial piercings at an earlier point as well. And, you know, Bianca had that very cutesy, very colourful look. And I think people that are alternative, they just kind of inspire each other. You see someone who's wearing really bold clothes or things that are a bit different to what everyone else is wearing, and you naturally gravitate towards them. And I truly think that in this case, this is what happened between Brandon and Bianca. Their relationship was very close, and because of this, Brandon would often go round Bianca's house to go and see her. And Bianca's family weren't, you know, thinking that Brandon was in any way a risk, because they genuinely looked at him and thought he was just a goofy guy from next door, that sort of person, just quite reserved, quite geeky, and just quiet. But they thought that he was respectful and he was very nice to Bianca and very nice to them. But as we go further into this case, you will see that Brandon's persona was all just a lie. So Brandon and Bianca dated for a little while, but Bianca kind of felt that it was all too much too soon, and what she actually wanted was freedom. Now, if we think about it like this, Bianca only, a year or two before, had finally started to understand herself and love herself. So she now wanted to be free, of course she did. She wanted to explore and date different people and just enjoy life as she never really had done beforehand. So she said to Brandon that basically she would like an open relationship in which they can both see other people. And Brandon said that that was fine. But later on within this case, it was revealed that Brandon was a self-confessed incel. So even though he said to Bianca, yep, it's fine, you can go and see other people, inside was a totally different story. And even the fact of Bianca talking to any other guy that wasn't Brandon would simply drive him crazy. I genuinely believe that he said it's fine so that he could keep control of her, he could keep being around her, because obviously if he said, no, I'm not happy with that, then she would have cut off all contact. But I truly think that he just agreed to whatever she said, even though that's not how he felt. The other thing about incels, and we will go into discussing incels a little bit later on, is that they do not like being rejected. Even though she hadn't rejected him, she just wanted to see other people. In fact, she termed it as an open relationship. So she's still with Brandon, but she wanted to see other people as well. He felt rejected, and incels do not like that. Because of course, it's because of women that they're not in a romantic relationship. It's no fault of their own. The woman has turned them down, and that's why they're not in a romantic sexual relationship with anyone, because the woman rejected them, right? Wrong. But unfortunately, that's what Brandon thought. But of course, as I say, Bianca did not know this. She genuinely thought that Brandon was okay with it and she could, remain being friends with him because what a great guy, we've had a relationship, it didn't work out, but he's still my best friend and we can still enjoy time together. And she really did feel safe around him, so much so that they remained close. And on July the 13th, 2019, they decided to go and see a music artist together. The artist's name was Nicole Dollanganger, and I would say that she's like a gothic performance artist. Her music is lovely and it's quite chill, but Bianca really wanted to go see her, and Brandon basically said, yep, that's fine, we will go see her together and I will drive, because it was quite far away and Brandon had a car. And of course, they were friends, so why wouldn't Brandon take her? Now, at this performance, Bianca had also arranged to meet another guy called Alex. I think Bianca's family felt a little bit, this is so dark to think when, again, we get to later points of this case, but they probably felt that Bianca was in safe hands because Alex was a little bit older, but Brandon was there. And I was just about to say that Brandon wouldn't let anything happen to Bianca, but unfortunately, that is not the case. In the afternoon, just before Bianca left with Brandon to travel to the venue, Bianca would tell Kim that she loved her. And the next form of communication was when Bianca and Brandon actually got to the venue, and there was a bit of an issue with parking. But they managed to park up, they got into the venue on time, and then Bianca met Alex. And it was from this moment that Brandon looked and acted very uncomfortable. There is even CCTV of all three of them at the venue, and you can see that Bianca is really excited to meet Alex, and I can't quite tell Alex's demeanour, but he looks excited as well. But in the CCTV, his face is covered. However, you can also see that Brandon is not being friendly to Alex at all. And the more that Bianca is getting excited, the more that Brandon is getting visibly annoyed. And now, of course, if you're going to meet someone for the first time, you are going to spend more time with them than you are with someone that you already know and you spent a very long time in the car with already. But every single second that Bianca spent with Alex was too much for Brandon. And at one point, now I don't know if Alex genuinely needed the bathroom or he just went to go and have a minute and get away from the situation, but at one point Brandon goes to the bathroom, and when he returns he sees Bianca kissing Alex. So once the show was finished, Alex went in his car back home and Brandon and Bianca started to travel home together. And somewhere in this journey, Bianca texts Alex and says, I think he saw me kissing you. And the drive home was long. I always forget how big America is, but from the gig back to home, it was 6 hours, which when someone is very much annoyed with you, that must be the longest journey in history, because Brandon was in the front driving, of course, and Bianca sat in the back seat, and it was incredibly quiet between the two. Bianca decided that she would go back onto Discord and she would speak to her friends, and there was a really nice text exchange between one of her friends about Alex, and she was very, very giddy. She was very excited that she had met him, and she was telling this person that she'd kissed him, and she was really happy that she did. And Bianca obviously knew that Brandon wasn't happy, but Bianca didn't truly care because she knew that it was about Alex, and she'd already told Brandon that they weren't exclusive and they could see other people. So Bianca didn't really understand why Brandon was being the way that he was being. Bianca was on a total high on the way home, and she actually told her friend that she thought that she was in love with Alex. And I'm sure she didn't mean in love. I think obviously a lot of girls, especially around that age, they say love a lot. It's not really as deep of a word as it becomes later on in life, but she obviously had a lot of feelings for Alex. She was obviously very excited by him and the chance of a potential future. All the while, Brandon is definitely picking up on this, which is making Brandon even worse. And just before we get into the next bit, when I say this is making Brandon worse and this is upsetting Brandon, I'm not validating anything that he goes on to do. All I'm trying to suggest is that Bianca is in the back of the car, really giddy, like a little schoolgirl, And in the front of the car, Brandon is just getting more and more upset internally. And unfortunately, Bianca did not realize how serious this was, because Bianca felt so safe that she actually went to sleep in the back seat. Now, just 15 minutes from Bianca's home in Utica, Brandon decides to stop the journey early. The 6 hours that he was driving them both home had given him a lot of time to contemplate his next move. And he decided to pull up on a dead-end street and start posting really dark, troubling images to his social media pages. Most prominently, he was using Instagram stories of a way of posting these images. A story on Instagram is basically, it could be a photo, it could be a video, it could be a photo with words, but essentially it's a short-lasting piece of media that only stays on your platform for about 24 hours. So it's not a permanent feature of everything that you want to keep on your feed, but it is a post that has a limited time to be seen, and in usual cases it's about 24 hours. And so he started posting quite a lot of stories, just like this one. But this wasn't enough for Brandon. He evidently wanted some sort of sick satisfaction because Bianca had kissed a guy that wasn't him. So he decided to get his phone, prop it up on the dashboard of his car, and aim it so that it was recording the back seat where Bianca was sleeping. And then he decided to wake her up really violently and ask her about the kiss with Alex. More to the point, did it actually happen? And Bianca was honest and she said yes. And then there was a bit of a heated back and forth between the two because she did not understand why Brandon was so angry. She had told them that they weren't exclusive. And then of course Brandon is just being so upset that she'd kissed someone else. But it was at the point in which Bianca said, "We're not exclusive, we previously agreed on this," that everything would just collapse. Brandon decided in this moment to take a hunting knife that he had previously stashed in the car and start attacking Bianca with it. He aimed at her throat and kept attacking her. She struggled, she tried to fight back, but unfortunately the attack would be fatal. Of course, this had all been recorded on Brandon's phone, and it wasn't just for his own viewing. He decided that the world needed to see this video too. And so he then decided to also post this video to his Instagram stories. He also took photos of her, and yes, he uploaded those too. These photos are unfortunately still being shown today, and this is how I found out about this case. Someone decided to put this set of photos online, and unfortunately, before I even knew Bianca's name, I had seen her lifeless body in a set of photos. After Bianca was sure to be dead, Brandon built a bonfire. I don't know if he had decided that he was actually going to burn her body, but if he was, then that seems like a ludicrous idea because there is evidence in the back seat, there is the weapon, and then also his car. Like, what would he do with that? And the main point is that he had recorded this whole murder and then put it on social media. So if he did previously think, and then I'm going to burn the body, well, the evidence is already out there. So I really don't know what his initial intention of the bonfire was. Instead, he decided to put her body into tarp that he had also in the car, and then decided to record her body whilst playing a song from the car. The song is called Test Drive, and it's by an artist called Joji, and at the time Joji was incredibly popular. The song itself is about a breakup. I honestly do not know how Brandon saw the murder. It's almost like by playing the song, by recording her lifeless body inside tarp, he's almost validating it to himself. Like the lyrics of the song, it says things like, "I'll see you in another life," and basically they just fell apart. But I don't understand Brandon's actual visualization of what he just did. And I'm not giving him the excuse of mental incapacity either. I just really don't understand the incel brain and how he felt in some way it was almost justified what he did. It seriously makes me sick trying to work out just why. I don't understand it at all, but nothing makes me more sick than this next part. 7 a.m. the next day, the police turn up at Kim Devins' door.
You better send somebody to the mom's house to give her a heads up.
A little after 7 a.m. and came up to me and said, Mom, the police are here for something about Bianca. At that point, I think I just immediately went into shock. I was just thinking she was hurt, and I had to find her and get her help, get her to the hospital. He took my best friend. She was my everything.
It's just heartbreaking because the idea of seeing policemen at your door is never a good thing anyway. But for them to then mention your daughter, your sister, your family member, that just must be absolutely... I actually don't know. Horrific is not strong enough of a word. The one thing that is true though is that Brandon did post multiple pieces of media online, and there is every chance that the family had already seen this. And there is a point that I will make later and go into just a little bit more. Brandon didn't just post these pictures and footage on his own social media. He made sure that Kim had them too. So horrifically, there is every chance that before the police did come to the door, Kim already knew that something had happened to her daughter. As these photos were circling the internet, a lot of people thought that they were fake, because at the time, especially on Discord and Tumblr, a lot of people were trying to get following through shock factor. The main photo, which shows Bianca's body, was posted to Bianca's own Discord. And I'm not going to show you that out of respect, but it literally is posted by Bianca. The picture is there, and the caption says, "My neck hurts." Brandon took multiple photos of Bianca, the crime scene, and of course there was the video footage of the actual crime taking place. He posted them on multiple social media accounts and made sure that wherever Bianca had fans, those fans would know what he had done to her. The media he uploaded went viral within hours. It was shared thousands of times and shared to the artist that they had seen that evening too. The photos and the videos just kept circulating, and I truly see it as Brandon getting a sick enjoyment out of more and more people knowing what he had done. He had the ultimate control now. He took her life and no one could or would ever speak to her again. He even posted a photo of her lifeless body to Discord and captioned it, "Sorry, effers, you're going to have to find someone else to orbit." He wanted to make sure that everyone knew and everyone had the photos and the video. Not just her friends, not just her fans, but her family too. He made several calls to his family and then to her family as well before calling the police and telling them too. He made sure to state what he had done, where he was, and who his victim was.
Hey Graham, it's Brandon. I hope I would be able to reach you, but I guess I'm not able to, so I know this is going to come as kind of a surprise, at least to you it isn't to me. But I killed someone today. I killed my girlfriend. Well, she's supposed to be my girlfriend, but she cheated on me.
The dispatcher that he spoke to when he called the police, he managed to even undermine her as well. She wanted to find out more information, and he said something back along the lines of, "I know your job, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to keep me on the phone, but it's pointless." And then basically he ended the phone call. So this part I find really interesting too, because when the police actually got to Brandon's location, Brandon then decided with the same weapon that he used on Bianca, he was going to try and take his life. But what I find interesting about that is he had all this time with Bianca. He had hours with her, and it was only at the point in which the police got there that he tried to take his own life. Did he actually want to take his own life? Because this kind of insinuates that he hopes that he would be saved. And now honestly, you will see pictures of him and he does have a pretty big scar. And I have seen other pictures of him that are very gruesome. And it does look like he really tried to do some damage. But it's the fact that he did this right as they arrived. He didn't do it once he made the phone call. He didn't do it during the phone call. I personally read it that he left it right until the very last second because he wanted to have as long with Bianca's body as he possibly could. For me, it feels like an element of control that if he took his own life earlier, then he wouldn't have the final seconds with Bianca. But then maybe as well he did want to actually succeed and then not get caught, because why would you want to serve prison time over this? And there are a few things that I will mention a little later which might make you think that he did in fact want to pass away. He also later on in court has this very long speech about how he's so regretful and remorseful to everything he's done. But he said that he regretted it from the moment that he did it, but it was after that that you posted multiple pieces of information to social media. Now, I don't understand how that can be remorseful, but we'll get to that. So before he's been arrested, but as soon as the police arrive on scene, he is trying to attack himself with the weapon that he used on Bianca. And honestly, he loses quite a lot of blood. So much so that he actually stumbled and fell onto the tarp that had Bianca's body in it. But he didn't just lay there and wait for his arrest. No, he took out his mobile phone, he snapped a selfie with her in the tarp behind him, and then managed to upload it onto social media with the caption, "Ashes to ashes." Brandon was taken to hospital and he survived the attempt that he tried to make, and as soon as he was discharged, he was arrested. The police did try to ask him questions whilst he was in hospital, and the policeman first came in and offered to shake Brandon's hand, but Brandon then replied, "Why would you want to shake hands with a killer?"
So why would you want to shake hands with a killer?
Well, Brandon, I'll tell you what. It's okay, take your time. You can ask me and I can ask you, but so you would like to talk to me then? Yes? Yes? No?
Sure.
I have to get through this and then we can have a full conversation.
He asked if Bianca was dead, and he later on says in court he asked that question because he was so remorseful and kind of hoped that she survived. I don't believe that at all. I believe that this was entirely a power play. He wanted confirmation that she did not survive his attack. The family went through hell and back. They kept getting photos and videos sent to them, and as soon as they appeared, they tried to get them taken down off these social media sites. The media spread like wildfire, and if they got one piece of media taken down, then 100 more pieces would suddenly turn up. Instagram got involved and tried to remove as many posts as they could, but then some people would report things that they had seen, and Instagram said that it didn't violate any guidelines. So again, these posts are still being circulated, and it got so bad that Olivia actually said that she just deleted social media. She couldn't be on it anymore, because it wasn't just the posts and the footage that the whole family were unfortunately seeing. The family were being targeted as well, saying that, well, they were saying horrible things about Bianca, and they basically victim shamed her and said that the parenting that Kim had done was awful, and that effectively Bianca deserved what happened to her. The internet is a vile place, and I just can't believe this happened to the family who were already going through so much. And to complete the awful events that happened after Bianca was killed, Brandon Clark pled not guilty to second-degree murder. 7 months later, on February the 10th, 2020, just before his trial, Brandon Clark did change his plea from not guilty to to guilty. All of this time, they are inconsolable. They are dealing with the death of a loved one, and then they've got Brandon Clark saying that he's not guilty. It must have been the worst 7 months. And honestly, I truly see the family as superhuman, because I could not imagine going through all of this and then the killer is saying that he's not guilty, which is a really silly plea as well, because again, there is so much evidence that you have purposely put out there. There's no denying that you are the reason that Bianca is no longer here. But I truly, truly believe that he only changed from not guilty to guilty so that he would get a lesser sentence. He was originally meant to be sentenced in March 2020, but then COVID-19 happened and everything got pushed back. So yet again, the poor family is waiting even longer for justice. They waited until May 2021 for the verdict, almost 2 years after Bianca was murdered. In the courtroom, her family and her loved ones wore pink to honour her. On Brandon's computer, he had a disturbing search history, including searches for how to choke someone out, how to incapacitate someone, and how to cut through the main artery in the neck. He also had hundreds of photos of Bianca across all of his devices and checked on all of her social media pages daily. The court made the right decision and sentenced him to life imprisonment, a minimum of 25 years, and no chance of parole. Brandon was a self-confessed incel, and he actually found a community that he felt aligned with called Dark Cell Gaming. I didn't know what Dark Cell meant, and I looked it up, and basically, without saying too many words, Dark Cell has a relation to the dark part of the internet, if you know what I mean. And I think this makes sense that Brandon wasn't just an incel, but he was also feeling that he was aligned with the dark part of the internet because of how he took Bianca's life. He said that he was okay with her seeing other people, when we now know, of course, he was not. He took her 6 miles up the country to go and see this music artist, and then of course she was meeting Alex, and he said that that was okay as well. But then on the drive home, he wouldn't speak to her, and he then decided to take her all the way home except 15 minutes, which is really evil because she's so close to home, it's not even funny. She could have walked home from that point, you know? And still he decided that that was the perfect opportunity to take her life. And also he already had the hunting knife and the tarp. Well, where did that come from? He must have really been thinking about what he was going to do after the gig. Was it there just in case, you know, if she didn't kiss Alex, would he have taken her life? If she saw Alex and then, I don't know, really wasn't interested in him, would everything have been different? But to have a hunting knife and tarp as a failsafe for a plan that you will probably put into motion is awful, is just awful. To make matters worse as well, he also had a checklist on his phone of what he would need that night to murder Bianca. And you know, when I said that, you know, he waited until the police got there to take his own life, did he actually want to? Well, this bit might make you think that yes, he absolutely did, because he then decided to change his Instagram bio to read, "Just know that I feel no pain now." And beneath this, he also put his birth date and the day after Bianca was killed, which would then make sense as the day that Brandon thought he was going to die. It all felt entirely premeditated. For the 6 hours in the car, he stayed silent so he could work out what to do next and how to ensure that Bianca would not live another day. Brandon in court, as I've said before, he tried to apologise and make out that he was really remorseful for what he had done. But I stand by the fact that I think that the court had ruled in the correct way, that he got life, minimum of 25 years, and absolutely no chance of parole. It's never going to heal the family, and they're never going to heal from this. But I just hope that they feel some justice was done, that his life was taken away in this sense as hers was by him. And I hope that now they are able to think of her fondly with wonderful memories, and how kind she was and what she wanted to do with her life. As I said, that's a really beautiful thing for anyone want to do. She wanted to turn her weakness into strength, and she wanted to help other people that had been through what she had. Bianca's passing also became the driving force for a law now called Bianca's Law that holds social media platforms accountable for images like those mentioned earlier being circulated on their platforms. When Bianca's family and friends were victims to seeing these photos swarming the internet, they tried to replace all the images under the hashtag #RestInPeaceBianca with anything pink, fluffy or glittery. It was really a loving way to get rid of the images that the family wished no one, including themselves, ever saw, and replacing them with nice photos of pretty things that resembled Bianca. On multiple occasions when Instagram had a photo reported, a message would come back saying that it did not violate Instagram's guidelines, and the law was created to avoid this ever happening again in the future. I will attach the footage of Brandon in court making his apology, and it's just so that you can make your own mind up whether or not you believe him. I would honestly love to know how you feel. Please leave me a comment in the box below, because I am of firm belief that he just wanted to control her, and he did it so that no one else could ever love her, talk to her, and he had the full control over taking her life. There is no excuse for his actions. I don't believe his apology. I believe that it was all premeditated, and I genuinely, as I've said, I do not believe his remorse is sincere. I just also want to mention that I have of course seen the photos of Bianca. I'm not going to add them into this video, and that is because the family have tried so hard to wipe them off the internet. Unfortunately, that is how I found out about this case, but therefore I'm not going to put them in this as respect to the family. And on the same breath, Patreons, please know that I truly appreciate you, but I'm going to put your names at the end of this video just so that we have respect for Bianca. And for everyone else, I am now going to attach the courtroom footage. Thank you for watching, and I hope I see you in the next one.
And then as she's lying in the back of the car, you take your cell phone and you continue to record her as she's speaking her last words.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What are you wearing?
It doesn't matter. I'm going to be dead.
Okay. Well, I just want to talk to you. Okay.
Yeah, I know you want to talk to me. I know how your job works. You have to keep me on the line, but it's not happening. Okay.
I'm going to make a mistake right now.
Okay, you want to do it into the microphone?
For almost 2 years now, I've sat in my cell and I've wondered what I'm going to say when it finally comes time for me to speak to the people that I've hurt. And it's never been enough. It's never been adequate, I felt, to really convey my emotions and to apologize. How do you meaningfully apologize for doing something so horrible and so irreversible? And that's the worst part, is that I can't take it back. I want to. I wish I could. I would give my life in a heartbeat to Bianca if I could. And I can't. Every day I wake up and I wonder how she would have spent that day if she were still here. Every day I wish that I could do more than just wonder. And I hate myself for what I did to her. I don't know why. I don't understand how I could do something like that. I don't even know who I was that day, and it disgusts me. I remember when I first met Bianca, how much I adored her and how much I just wanted to spend time with her, and for that adoration to turn into something so evil, and it's like a nightmare. Every day I wish I could wake up and just have it not be real, have it not be me. I look in the mirror and I see the scar on my neck and I see the friggin' jumpsuit, and I just think it can't be me, it can't be. That's not the person I am. I just don't even know who I am, you know? I have to live with the guilt and the shame that because of me, because of my actions, Bianca isn't here. And she didn't deserve that. I can't even fathom the pain that the people who loved her feel because of me. I know she was a daughter and a sister and a friend, and to have her taken in such a horrible manner, to have the photos that I don't even know why I took circulating still to this day, for them to have to live with that. I couldn't even imagine it. I hate myself for what I did. I'm so sorry that I put everyone through this. I'm so sorry that I put Bianca through this. I wish I could apologize to her and just apologize and just take it back, but I know it means nothing. Apologies. I know that it doesn't bring her back and it doesn't undo what I did, but I just want everyone to know that I really do feel so terrible about what I did. I'm so sorry for it.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Clark?
Yes, sir.
This criminal case has lasted much longer than anybody anticipated because of the pandemic. And this is the Brandon Clark that we saw in the beginning when you originally pled guilty. But it was confusing to see during the hearing when you tried to take back your plea that you wanted to blame your attorneys. You wanted to have a jury trial. And now we seem to be back to the Brandon Clark that entered the plea of guilty. That seems confusing. What happened in the interim that motivated that action?
Well, Your Honor, I mean, I've always felt terrible what I did ever since the first day. You know, even after I did it and I cut my own throats because of how terrible I felt. You know, and the first thing I asked when I woke up in the hospital was, is she dead? Because I couldn't believe it. When I pled guilty, I was speaking the truth. I don't want the family to suffer through trial, and I feel terrible, and I don't believe that Bianca deserved what happened to her. And I'm really disturbed that I did that. The reason why I tried to withdraw my plea is, well, I believe I stated most of the reasons. You know, I didn't understand the criminal justice system. I didn't understand that. I really should, this is just my opinion, but I feel like I need to get out there with the mental health, and I felt like my mental health wasn't properly reviewed. I have a history of mental health, and I feel like just accepting the maximum, I felt like I was doing myself a disservice, that maybe I could get real help.
That's the confusing part. It seemed like in the beginning you were focused on the family, the pain that you caused that family. And somewhere in the interim, you started to focus on yourself. And that was what was confusing to everyone. You were more worried about yourself than Bianca. You understand that if, and that's a big if, but if any members of that family are ever going to be able to forgive you, you need to take complete responsibility.
I do, Your Honor. And I am the reason why Bianca's not here. I assume responsibility for that.
Anything else?
Oh, that would be all, Your Honor.